Can speak to the Labour MP Frank Field. He's in our Westminster studio. Many thanks indeed for joining us this afternoon, Mr. Field. Firstly, your reaction to Mr. Barnier's comments that we have a 2-week deadline.
I don't think we should take always what they say seriously. What we do need is a very clear counter-position, which we don't have. But the news that you had on your ticker tape just now means the government has accepted the First Amendment clause that I have when we start the real business of getting out of Europe on Tuesday, which is setting the date and the time. The government ought to, I hope, accept the other 3 amendments about that we would bring over all the regulations and laws. Thirdly, Parliament will decide how they sift these. And fourthly, we need a safe haven. And from that safe haven, so they don't have their little fingers round our throat, our windpipe, we will be able to negotiate about the sums and when we pay them. I mean, the European Union, when we cease to pay, our contribution will be in financial difficulties mega time. So as these negotiations unfold, the power will move where it clearly is at the moment on their side to our side if we're up to the negotiations.
Both sides today, Michel Barnier and David Davis, seem to be saying the same thing about progress, that they are committed to making progress, that it is a top priority for them. The sticking point, as ever, remains those issues of citizens' rights, the issue of Northern Ireland and its border, and this financial settlement. Michel Barnier also spoke about this is not about making concessions on the part of Europe or the United Kingdom, but would you expect Theresa May to have to make some form of concessions in order for us to move on?
No, I think Theresa May ought to be much more clearly in control of these negotiations. We ought to, in fact, be having a Brexit cabinet, like a war cabinet, to drive through these negotiations. They are that important to this country. I think we should.
What is the likelihood of that happening? A Brexit what is the likelihood of that happening? A Brexit multi-party cabinet?
Well, I mean, it should be offered to be that. The country needs that. And after the budget, the Prime Minister will have a real opportunity of reorganising her government, and I hope she takes and is seen to, in a way that she hasn't up to now, be really running these negotiations, as Churchill was seen to be running the war. And so I think within that context, of course it's important that people who are working in this country get security as soon as possible, but nobody going into negotiations when we want equal movement on their side throws your hand away and says, well, you're going to get that. They could have settled that early. They didn't. It's not our fault. It's the EU fault that we haven't given security to all those citizens either living in this country or our citizens living in the European community. That could have been done ages ago. They didn't want to do it.
I guess we are where we are. What are your thoughts, your reaction to Lord Kerr's comments today that he believes that the Brexit process can be reversed and politicians are misleading the British public?
Did Lord Kerr, when he speaks in the Lords on this, declare a financial interest? He, like all those people who've actually been at the Foreign Office or in the European Union, who've been peddling all the stuff about EU, have mega pensions. They speak from a position of security, where the Brexit vote was about people who don't have that security, what they want to see. Now there's this game of playing, oh, you can have another vote.
I would say that it's his duty as the architect of Article 50.
Well, I mean, what did he do? Why did he put Article 50 together if he thinks it's so bad now? We can all. I asked the Prime Minister not to sign at the time she did. She signed. We just have to get on with that. The key thing is that the Prime Minister, I think, has been misled in having a nearly 60-page bill when what I've got down as amendments, starting on Tuesday, the first already accepted, is a bill to get us out, Clause 1, the date, the time. Clause 2 is to bring all their legislation over. Clause 3, how do we want to sort through that? What to keep, what to kick out, what to amend. And 4, a safe haven. if the Prime Minister persists with her bill, it will never emerge from the Lords. They're piling in. They've always been committed to Europe. There's a mega majority there. It's foolish to give them so much scope to stop a bill progressing, because in the Lords, unlike the Commons, there's no means of guillotining a debate. So I hope on Tuesday she will accept my 4 amendments, which is also a great reform bill, gets us out what we're going to do. It doesn't take 60-odd pages. It hardly takes one side of legislation. And when we need other powers that are in that great reform bill, the EU withdrawal bill, we can come back on a single clause bill and pass it in the Commons. That will stop all those in the Commons and the Lords who are opposing they're really wolves in sheep's clothing who want to wreck this bill from doing so. The great thing about Lord Kerr is that he actually has always made plain he wants to wreck it and how he actually intends to do it.
Frank Field, many thanks indeed.
Pleasure, thank you.